Exposed, Undercover CEO discovers heartwarming sacrifice of cashier skipping meals for baby. Incredible secrets unveiled. Tom Anderson, the CEO of a thriving grocery chain, felt a growing void in his life. At 45, he had everything: money, status, and respect, but the vibrant laughter of children echoing in his quaint Midwestern town seemed worlds away from him. His stores bustled with activity, but the warm smiles of employees like Lisa were eclipsed by boardroom strategies and profit margins. Determined to bridge that gap, Tom donned an apron and badge, ready to go undercover as a cashier. As he stepped into the bustling store, the aroma of fresh bread and ripe fruits enveloped him. His heart raced. This was an alien world, one he had been too distanced from. He took a deep breath and aligned his thoughts before meeting his new co-worker, Lisa. She was a single mother working tirelessly to support her baby daughter, Mia. Each day, Tom could feel the weight on Lisa's shoulders, a burden crafted from late nights and early mornings. Her soft smile belied the struggles that simmered beneath the surface. He often watched her hesitantly scooping small portions of food into her own stomach, saving the larger meals for Mia. It hit him hard. The realization that Lisa was skipping meals for her daughter's sake resonated deep within him. Why would she do that, he wondered. The answer felt painfully clear. There was little room for error in her life, and community support seemed an abstract concept not mirrored by higher-ups like him. He admired her dedication and resilience, but he also felt the pang of injustice gnawing at his insides. In quiet moments, he learned of her rejection of community stereotypes, the judgmental glances from customers who had little idea of her struggles. "People see me as just a cashier," she once confided, her eyes flickering like candles caught in a breeze. "But they don't know I'm doing everything I can for Mia." As Tom delved deeper into Lisa's world, the line between their two lives blurred. He witnessed her fatigue and frustration, but also her unfaltering hope. The games of children playing outside grew quieter in his ears compared to the inner turmoil brewing within him. Then came the community food drive, an event bursting with camaraderie and spirit. Lisa was there with her heart wide open, eager to lend a helping hand. As she handed out food boxes, Tom felt drawn to the comfort and warmth that surrounded them. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Standing there, watching Lisa's steadfast focus amidst the chaotic environment, Tom felt the weight of their shared world. It was in that moment he stepped forward, revealing his true identity, a CEO among the people. While some embraced him with astonished gratitude, others shot him disdainful glares that cut deep. How could he reconcile the opulence of board meetings with the heartfelt sincerity in Lisa's eyes? The looming boardroom meeting felt upon him now, a moment that could either pave the path to hope or defend the fortress of inhumane profit. Would he muster the strength to fight for real change for people like Lisa, or would the indifference of corporate culture reign supreme? As he stood at the precipice, he pondered one haunting question: would the sacrifices of hardworking individuals continue to go unnoticed under the shimmering facade of success? The answer lingered just at the edge of his consciousness, tantalizing yet out of reach, and the allure of the next chapter beckoned him forward. Tom knew he was teetering on a tightrope, the future of his stores, employees, and community hanging in the balance. The boardroom meeting was looming, ready to unfold the next chapter in a company that had largely ignored the heartbeats of those who held it together. As the day of reckoning approached, anxiety gnawed at him. It was Thursday, the same day the weekly strategy meeting was set for. But this time, Tom felt something different stir inside him. With every glance at Lisa, every moment he spent with her during their shifts, he worried less about the numbers on spreadsheets and more about the faces of those who relied on him. He remembered the way Lisa's worn hands eagerly accepted the second-hand toys he had brought from home for Mia. Her gratitude had seeped right into his soul. How could he tell her that he had been living in a bubble, blind to the everyday sacrifices around him? As he worked side by side with Lisa, unseen by the critical eye of board members, he was struck by the quiet camaraderie that existed among the employees. They were a tapestry woven of stories and resilience, each thread colored by trials and triumphs. It hit him he was part of that fabric too. But would they see him that way when he walked into the boardroom clean-shaven and suited up? One day, while bagging groceries alongside Lisa, she opened up about her dreams, her eyes brightening as she painted a future where Mia would chase after dreams, not just survive. "I want her to have a chance," she said, her voice fierce and soft all at once. "A life full of possibilities, not just the next meal." Tom felt a nudge in his heart, as if the walls he had built around himself began to crack. The day of the meeting arrived. Tom entered the glass-walled room, his mind a whirlpool of thoughts swirling around Lisa and the many like her. The air was thick with tension. The board members huddled, discussing profit margins and losses while he stared out the window, catching glimpses of life outside, children laughing, parents smiling, a world thriving off the simplest joys. Would he share what he had learned? Would they even care enough to listen? "We've been pushing our employees too hard," Tom finally spoke, surprising himself. "The cost-cutting measures aren't just numbers, they're real people." The silence in the room was unmistakable. Faces turned, eyebrows raised, and a collective breath was held. "Tom, we're not running a charity, we need to think about the bottom line." One board member shot back, his tone dismissive. "But our bottom line is human. People like Lisa deserve better," he insisted, feeling an unexpected fire ignite within him. The room felt increasingly charged, an electric mix of disbelief and curiosity. For the first time, he sensed a shift. "Tom," another member spoke up gently, "are you suggesting we alter our approach?" He paused, heart pounding. He thought about Lisa's unwavering spirit and the love she poured into raising Mia. "We need to invest in our employees like their family. That means proper wages, health benefits, and support. It's not just about sales, it's about building a community." The board exchanged glances, but Tom stood firm. As the meeting slipped away into tense discussions and heated debates, Tom's mind raced. Was he ready for a full commitment to this change? What if he succeeded only to face even greater pushback? The fight ahead was daunting. Determined, Tom felt the ground swell beneath him, and his resolve began to crystallize. He knew one thing for certain, there was no turning back now. Lisa and Mia depended on him, and with every moment, the tale of their sacrifices surged in his heart, pushing him toward a decision he knew would define him. When that meeting finally ended, Tom walked out, energy flooding through him. But as he turned the corner, he wondered what the next call would bring, his heart racing at the thought of both victory and backlash. Would his newfound courage translate into meaningful change? What awaited him when he returned to the store and faced the very employees he sought to empower? Tom stepped out of the boardroom, still feeling the sting of the harsh responses. His heart raced, but the undeniable clarity of purpose also surged within him. He had taken a stand, and now he needed to follow through. The flicker of hope igniting inside felt fragile yet potent. Could this be the turning point he so desperately wanted? As he walked back to the store through the bustling parking lot, the weight on his shoulders lightened just a bit. With every step, he imagined how things could be different for Lisa and the others. If they only knew he was fighting for them. But what if, when he shared his vision of change, their reactions weren't as hopeful? Entering the store, the familiar sounds enveloped him: the ding of the register, the chatter of customers, and the echoing footsteps of employees rushing about. Tom quickly spotted Lisa, her hands deftly scanning items, the soft determination on her face catching him off guard. "Hey, Lisa!" he called, his voice carrying an energy he hoped might be contagious. She looked up, a smile breaking through her focus. "Back from the lioness den?" Tom chuckled but felt the pulse of anxiety rise again. "More like a circus in there. But I think I finally found my voice." He leaned against the edge of the checkout counter, and for a moment, time stood still. He could see her eyes searching his, waiting for what came next. "What do you mean?" "I spoke up for our team," he confessed, the vulnerability sharpening his resolve. "I stood up for everyone, the long hours, the stress, and the sacrifices. I want to create change." Her expression softened, and the hint of disbelief in her gaze shifted to something deeper. "That's incredible, Tom. But what does that mean for us, really?" Tom took a breath, feeling the weight of his conviction. "I want to push for proper wages, health benefits, full support. Our people are our backbone, Lisa, and they deserve more." Lisa's face, usually brightened by smiles, fell momentarily, overwhelmed by a mix of hope and skepticism. "It's a bold plan, but do you really think they'll go for it?" "I don't know," he admitted. "But I've learned that it's worth fighting for. I want to be part of the change. Not just a suit in a boardroom talking about numbers. I want to be the heart of this company." Silence lingered between them, thick with anticipation. Then, Lisa smiled softly, hesitantly. "You think they'll listen to you?" "Today was the first step, and I'm ready for the next, whether it's praise or pushback. I need to believe it can make a difference." Her reaction sparked something inside him. He felt the weight of possibility. But what if his courage backfired? What if the board retaliated fiercely? "Tom," Lisa began, her voice growing stronger. "I think if we could all believe in this, we'd stand behind you. You'd have our support. But change may not come easy, you know that, right?" Tom nodded, biting his lip. "Yeah, I do. But nothing worth having is ever easy." Just then, the hum of conversation faded for a moment as another employee approached, curiosity in their eyes. "What is going on, guys? You two look serious." Tom straightened, knowing that whatever came next could galvanize everyone around them or scatter their hopes. "Just making plans for our future together." As he spoke, the air in the store felt alive, charged with a collective heartbeat that pulsed between him and his coworkers. But before he could delve deeper, his phone buzzed in his pocket. The board's next move? His heart raced again, a mix of dread and excitement. Would they either embrace his new vision or push him to back down before the real work began? The confrontation he feared loomed right at his fingertips. Tom's heart raced as he pulled out his phone, eyeing the screen with a mix of anticipation and dread. It was an email from the board. He froze for a second, aware that Lisa, now flanked by a couple of other employees, was watching him intently. "Should you check that?" Lisa asked, a note of concern in her voice. "Yeah, I need to see." He opened the email, his fingers shaking slightly. The initial words were standard procedure, outlining the next meeting. But then he read on, and a tight knot formed in his stomach. It wasn't just a meeting to discuss performance, they wanted to go over recent decisions, and his name was directly mentioned. "Tom." Lisa's voice broke through the haze. "What does it say?" "It's about my speech, my plans for change." He paused, bracing himself. "They want to discuss it. They're not thrilled." A murmur passed over the group. "Don't let them intimidate you," one employee said, a determined gleam in their eye. "You've got to fight for us." Tom's heart warmed at the sight of their support, but doubt gnawed at him. He felt the weight of responsibility again. But what if they consider this a threat? They could come down hard on us. On all of us. Lisa stepped closer. "Tom, we were all hoping for someone to finally speak up. If we rally together, they won't be able to ignore us. You're not alone in this." Her words grounded him. I never saw myself as a leader. I was just trying to do what felt right." The new employee beside her spoke up, "You seem to be doing that already. Look at us. We're fired up." There was something electric in the air. Tom could feel the courage bubbling up, but doubt lingered. "Okay," he said, more to himself than to the group. What if I call for a meeting? We can all come together and discuss how to present our case to the board. Lisa's face lit up. That's a great idea. Let us get everyone on board. Tom nodded, excitement mingling with the anxiety still in his chest. I just need to find a way to phrase it so they don't see us as troublemakers. We need to show them we care about the company, too. Their murmurs of agreement filled the store, bringing him hope. Before he reached for his phone again, the store manager approached, her expression serious but concerned. Tom, can we talk? He felt a rush of panic. Had word already spread about his push for change? Still, he nodded, stepping aside as the employees settled back into their routines. Is everything okay? She asked quietly. Yeah, just a little nervous about the board. I really want to push for better conditions, he confessed. Her expression softened. I heard there might be some backlash, but I'm with you. Just make sure you take care of yourself too. You're putting everything on the line. I appreciate that, he sighed, and for a brief moment, he felt light amidst the uncertainty. As the conversation stretched on, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was building. His actions held power, even if he didn't fully understand it yet. But just as that hope began to soar, his phone buzzed again. Hey, let us regroup later, yeah? Tom called over his shoulder, already stepping outside. The sun was dipping low, casting golden hues across the parking lot. He needed to assess his next move. This could be the moment where everything changed, but it felt as if the whole world hovered at the edge of a precipice, ready to fall. And then, out of the corner of his eye, he spotted something that chilled him to the bone, a familiar face lurking in the shadows. What did they know? Would they expose his intentions before he was ready? Tom's heart thundered as he turned to confront the unknown. Tom swallowed hard as he tried to make sense of the figure before him. It was Max, the company's vice president. His presence felt like a storm cloud hanging ominously overhead. Tom's pulse quickened with fear. Did Max know about his plans? Tom, Max called, his tone flat. We need to talk. The words hung in the air like a threat. Tom clenched his fists, a mix of defiance and anxiety bubbling inside him. What's this about? Max stepped forward, his cold gaze unwavering. I saw you talking with your team. I can only assume you're stirring up trouble. Tom opened his mouth to respond, but the words caught in his throat. He wanted to defend himself, to explain how the employees deserved better, but uncertainty wrapped around his thoughts like a vice. No, it's not like that, he finally managed. We just want to make sure our voices are heard. Max's brow furrowed. You're risking a lot, you know. The board won't take kindly to dissent. Dissent? Tom repeated, his voice rising. This isn't rebellion. This is about making a change for the better. Max sighed, but it wasn't an exhale of frustration. There was something deeper there, a hint of understanding. Look, Tom. You think you're the first to feel this way? There are people who have fought this fight long before you. And they've lost. Tom felt a crack in his resolve. But if we stay silent, nothing ever changes. A shadow passed over Max's face. Sometimes silence is survival. Just then, the warmth of the fading sun seemed to cut through the tension. Tom could sense the weight of importance in this interaction, and even though he felt outmatched, he wouldn't back down. I can't be silent anymore. Not after seeing how invested my team is. They deserve better. Before Max could respond, a voice interrupted them. It was Lisa, her eyes wide with concern. Tom, I think we should get back to the others. They're waiting for your decision. Tom noticed the tremor in her voice, the way she seemed on edge. What had she heard? You're right, he replied, casting a quick glance at Max, who looked less than pleased. But I need to make sure everyone understands what's at stake. Max crossed his arms, his expression unreadable. Just tread carefully, Tom. You might find yourself in over your head. With those words hanging heavily, Tom turned back toward the store, heart pounding in his chest. The uncertain shadows lurking in Max's eyes troubled him. Inside, the atmosphere buzzed with a mix of eagerness and anxiety among the employees gathered. Their faces were bright with anticipation, each of them brimming with hope and fear intertwined. Tom felt energized, as if their collective spirit was a flame he could feed. "Okay, everyone. Thank you for rallying together. I want to hear your ideas," he said, feeling the warmth of their belief wrap around him like a comforting blanket. But as he looked around, he couldn't shake the sensation of being watched. There was something unsettling in the air, a question yet unasked. What if the board wasn't just uninterested in change? What if they were actively working to undermine their voices? As the group started to brainstorm, Tom's mind raced. He needed a plan, one that wouldn't just give them a seat at the table but would finally make them heard. And just as he began to formulate a strategy, his phone buzzed again, this time with a message that made his heart skip a beat. "Meet me at the coffee house. I have information you need before it's too late." Who could it be? What did they know? The sense of urgency clawed at him, and even though he felt the pull of his responsibilities, he had to find out what this mystery person had to say. Would it be worth risking everything he was working to build? Tom barely had time to catch his breath before he turned to his team, buzzing with energy and anxiety, and suddenly, everything felt monumental. Sweat trickled down his back. He glanced at his phone again, the words flashing like neon in the shadows of his doubt. There was no turning back now. Would everyone excuse me for just a moment? He raised his hand, hoping they wouldn't think he was abandoning them. "I need to take this urgently." The murmurs rose around him, eyes darting to one another, whispers of worry floating in the air. He stepped outside, needing space and a clear mind. The world outside felt different, charged with tension. The sun was almost gone, leaving only a soft hue in the sky, like a curtain being drawn on a stage. He walked quickly down the street, the notification signal repeating endearingly in his pocket. Every step fueled his curiosity, mixed with the fear of the unknown. Who sent the message? What information did they have? What if it was something that would change everything, something dangerous? As he pushed open the door to the coffee house, the familiar aroma of brewing coffee washed over him, bringing a fleeting comfort. The cafe was quiet, with few patrons settled in their corners, most absorbed in their laptops or books. But he spotted someone waiting in the far back, their face obscured by shadows. "Hello, Tom." The voice was low and gravelly, sending a shiver through him. It belonged to a familiar face, Sarah, a former employee who had left the company under mysterious circumstances. "Sarah? What are you doing here?" He tried to keep his voice steady, but his heart raced. "I have something for you." She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a neatly folded piece of paper, placing it on the table between them. "I overheard some things during my last days at work. Things that concern the board. Things that could put you and your team at risk." Tom leaned in closer. "What do you mean?" "Let's just say, the board isn't as indifferent as they let on. They're preparing to silence dissenters in a way you wouldn't expect." She lowered her voice, urgency etched across her features. "They're planning to eliminate positions of anyone who stands against them, including yours." His stomach dropped. "You can't be serious." "Why would they go that far?" "Because they're scared. Scared of losing control. For them, it's all about maintaining power no matter the cost." He grappled with the weight of her words. "But I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for my team. They have the right to be heard." "Right or wrong doesn't matter to them," she replied, her voice wavering slightly. "Listen, I still care about your people. I came because I wanted you to know what's truly at stake." A moment of silence stretched between them, filled with the soft clinks of coffee cups and quiet chatter. The gravity of her warning loomed larger than any tension he had felt before. "I need to tell them," he said, a resolve building within him. Be careful, Tom. If they get wind of this, you'll be at risk too. You have to think about how you use this information. You must let them know without putting everyone in danger, Sarah cautioned. Tom nodded, the adrenaline coursing through his veins. As he stood to leave, he caught her eye. Thank you, Sarah. You have no idea how much this means. With that, he hurried back to the office, mind whirling with 1,000 thoughts. He had to turn the information into action, but how? Just as he entered the store, a heavy feeling hit him. His team was counting on him to lead them, but the walls of danger were closing in. What would he choose, playing it safe or confronting the storm head-on? The stakes had never been higher. The notion of silence as survival pressed at him. Still, he could feel the fire in his heart blazing brightly. But would it be enough to stave off the dark? As he gathered his team around him again, he felt the weight of their hopeful eyes, unaware of the brewing storm outside. But there was one question gnawing at him. If change was coming, could he protect them without losing everything? Tom collapsed into his chair, the familiar scrape of wood against tile echoing in the quiet room. His team buzzed around him, oblivious to the dread intertwining with his every thought. He surveyed their eager faces, excited, oblivious, ready for leadership. He couldn't let them down. He couldn't show them the weight that now rested heavily on his shoulders. All right, everyone, listen up. He cleared his throat, feeling the edges of panic trying to creep back in. I just got some information that changes everything. We need to talk. A hush fell over them. Their chatter turned to attentive silence, all eyes pinched on him, waiting. Sarah came by. She had something important to share. The concern in their eyes grew. It was as if they could sense the impending storm. What did she say? Jenna, one of the newer team members, leaned forward, her blonde hair swinging gently with the motion. Is something wrong? Let's just say, Tom paused, glancing at each of them, that the board is planning some serious changes. If we keep moving forward with our project, we might be putting ourselves at risk. What do you mean risk? Marcus asked, brow furrowed. Are we in danger? There's talk of eliminating positions, he said slowly, watching their expressions shift. Especially for those who oppose their views. They want to silence us. A collective gasp echoed in the room. Tension thickened the air, and Tom felt the heat rise to his cheeks. He didn't want to be the bearer of such dire news. But they had to be aware. What do we do? Jenna's voice trembled slightly, breaking the silence that enveloped them. I'm not sure yet, he replied, trying to steady his own nerves. I believe we need to keep working, but we must tread carefully. We can't show any signs of dissent. We need to find a way to voice our concerns without putting ourselves in the crosshairs. The realization of their situation hung heavily in the room. He could see the flicker of fear in their eyes, the aging worry etching lines into their expressions. The anxiety of uncertainty wrinkled everything. But it feels wrong to just stay quiet, Marcus argued, shifting uncomfortably, betraying his frustration. What happened to speaking up? What's the point of risking everything if we stay silent? Tom held his gaze, understanding the turmoil. Standing up for what they believed could cost them their jobs, but turning a blind eye would feel like giving up. I know. But we have two choices. We either fight back with intelligence, or we risk losing everything all at once. His heart pounded hard against his ribs as hope and dread battled fiercely within him. Each member of his team had their own dreams, their own battles. Losing any of them to the board's ruthless structure felt like ripping a piece from him. Can I say something? Jenna raised her hand timidly, the softness of her voice wrapping around their tension. What if we find a way to unite? If we can work together, maybe we can push back without standing out too much. Her words hung in the air, like the first breath of a new dawn. Could they rally together, hearts beating as one against the shadows? The thought ignited a spark within Tom. That's it. If we can come together, if we approach this as a united front, we might stand a chance. But we have to be strategic. We can't let ourselves get blindsided. Motivated sparks danced in their eyes, embers of hope starting to flicker. He felt a glimmer of strength in that moment. Just as the mood began to shift, his phone buzzed violently on the table, cutting through the energy. He picked it up to see a message from an unknown number. "Meet me at the alley behind the office in 20 minutes. They know about the meeting. You're being watched." His heart dropped. Who sent this? How did they know? Guys, I need to step out for a moment. "I'll be right back," he stammered, adrenaline rushing through his veins once more. As he stood, uncertainty crept back in. The stakes had just risen yet again, and now he couldn't shake the feeling that he was not just running toward the truth, but straight into danger. What if trusting Sarah had put them all in harm's way? Tom stepped out of the meeting room, his heart racing. He could barely hear the voices of his team behind him, their anxious murmurs a distant echo. His mind was spinning. Who watched him? And why? The words from the message replayed in his head, amplifying the weight of responsibility he felt. The hallway felt longer than usual, each step heavy. He glanced around, half expecting to see shadows lurking, eyes invisible but hungry for secrets. As the elevator doors slid shut behind him, he felt isolated, the familiar hum of the machinery both soothing and eerie. His thoughts drifted to Sarah. Had she known? Was she involved in this web of tension? As the elevator descended, Tom mentally mapped out the best route to the alley. He'd confront whoever had sent the message. He had to. Knowledge was power, and right now, ignorance could be a death sentence for them all. When the doors opened, Tom stepped into the dim light of the parking garage, heart thudding hard. The air felt electric, charged with uncertainty. He hurried toward the alley, past rows of parked cars that whispered secrets of their own. As he emerged into the alley, the brisk air hit him, sharp and cold. He scanned the area, heart pounding wildly, half expecting someone to jump out. All he saw were shadows growing longer with the fading light. "Tom." A voice broke the silence, low and cautious. He turned, squinting into the dark. A figure emerged from the shadows. Sarah. Relief washed over him, but it was quickly replaced with confusion. "Why did you ask me to meet here?" His voice was tight, the question hanging heavy between them. "You need to know what's going on," she said, stepping closer. Her face was tense, shadows dancing on her features. "I didn't want to put you in danger, but you need to be aware of how deep this goes." Tom felt a chill seep into his bones. "What do you mean?" "There are factions within the board. Some want to crush dissent, but others they want to help. I heard whispers of those who want to support the team, but they're afraid. They're watching closely, and they know we've been speaking out." His mind raced. "But how do they know?" "My team, they have eyes everywhere, Tom. We've been in the crosshairs since you took a stand. You have to be careful about what you share, who you trust." Just then, a noise echoed from the entrance of the alley. Both of them turned sharply, instinct telling them to retreat into the shadows. Tom felt his pulse quicken. Was it just his mind playing tricks, or was someone actually lurking nearby? "Get down!" Sarah hissed, pulling him behind a dumpster for cover. His breath caught in his throat, adrenaline surging through him. The darkness that loomed felt suffocating. The realization gnawed at him, they were indeed in danger, deeper than he ever imagined. "Have you told anyone else?" Tom whispered, leaning close. "Just a couple of people I trust. But it's risky. We need to come up with a plan." Suddenly, bright lights illuminated the alleyway. Voices floated in on the night air somewhere along the path, figures approached. "Sarah, we need to go. Now." Panic flared in her eyes, and they shifted to escape, but the sound of footsteps echoed relentlessly, closing in fast. "Tom, they're coming." The gravity of the moment weighed heavily on them. Fear, loyalty, and determination intertwined, propelling them both forward. What would they do next? As they stumbled toward safety, heartbeats racing, the question loomed like a storm, ready to break. Would they risk everything to uncover the truth? Or would fear dictate their fate? Tom's heart felt like it might burst. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but the tight alley offered few escape routes. Sarah's grip was firm on his arm, pulling him further into the darkness. Shadows danced around them, flickering with the threat of what might be just beyond reach. As they pressed against the cold metal of the dumpster, silhouettes came into view. A group of 3 men moved into the alley, their voices low but urgent. Tom strained to catch snippets of their conversation, hoping for clarity in the chaos. "She's been stirring up trouble," one man said, his tone sharp with accusation. "Yeah, we have to shut this down before it spreads," another replied, bitterness lurking behind his words. Tom felt a cold wave of dread wash over him. Were they talking about Sarah? About him? Nicking the voice of nervousness rising in him, he whispered, "What do we do?" "Stay quiet," Sarah whispered back, her face a mask of concentration. "We wait for them to pass, then we make our move." The tension wrapped around them like a thick blanket, each breath a reminder of how close danger was. Tom caught a glimpse of one man's face as he turned slightly, a recognizably stern expression. A shiver rolled down Tom's spine. This wasn't just a random group, they were connected to the office, to the chaos that had erupted since he dared to challenge the status quo. Suddenly, one of the men let out a snort of laughter. "Let her talk. Once people see how unstable she is, we can move in." Tom's stomach twisted. Who are they talking about? It can't be good. "Trust me, we need to keep our heads down. They won't catch us if we're careful." Sarah sounded more confident than she felt, but Tom felt a flicker of hope. Maybe there were allies somewhere in this mess. The men continued to murmur, but their attention faded as they moved deeper into the alley. As soon as they disappeared from view, Tom breathed heavily, the adrenaline making him dizzy. "Should we follow them?" he whispered, eyes darting toward the exit of the alley. "Better not. We don't know where they're heading," Sarah replied, scanning the shadows. "But we need to find a safe place to talk. We can't just wait for them to come after us." Cautiously, they slipped from the dumpster and paused to listen. The sound of distant footsteps echoed from behind them, but there were also other sounds, hushed voices, the clinking of metal, laughter. "We can take refuge in the old cafe on the corner. It's empty this time of night," she said, and before he could respond, she grabbed his hand, pulling him into motion. They hurried through the alley, hearts racing, adrenaline giving them the push they needed. The cold night air stung their skin and made the reality of their situation even clearer. As they reached the corner, the cafe came into view, a small haven from the chaos outside. Sarah pushed the door, and it creaked open, revealing a dimly lit space filled with cozy furniture. "Looks safe. Let us get inside." Once they were settled in a booth, the tension began to fade a little, but worries loomed like storm clouds. "What's the plan now?" Tom asked. Gazing into his eyes, Sarah took a deep breath. "We need a backup plan. If they're watching us, we can't just sit here and do nothing. We need to expose whatever is happening, but we have to be smart about it." "Agreed," Tom said. "But how can we be sure who our allies really are? What if we reach out to people we trust? Someone on the inside could help us." Before she could finish her thought, her phone buzzed violently on the table. They both jolted at the sound, eyes wide. "Who is it?" Tom asked, fear slicing through the air. "It's a group message." "I have to check," she said, glancing at the screen. The color drained from her face as she read the message. "Tom, we need to leave. Now." Fear gripped him again. "What does it say?" "They know we're together. We have to move before it's too late." Trusting her instinct, Tom's stomach twisted. What had they stumbled into? Together they bolted, the cafe retreating behind them like a mirage. As they stepped back onto the street, the night felt heavier, the darkness deeper. The stakes were higher now. Would they survive the coming storm? Or would they fall victim to the very forces they sought to expose? Tom and Sarah moved quietly, hearts pounding like war drums as they skittered down the dimly lit street. The intensity of the night enveloped them, brightened only by the flickering street lights overhead. Every sound became amplified, each rustle a reminder of the danger lurking just beyond their sight. "What now?" Tom whispered, feeling the weight of the world on his shoulders. "We need a plan," Sarah breathed, anxiety lacing her words. "We can't let them control the narrative. Let us find a place where we can meet everyone else and strategize." Tom nodded, the urgency of the situation igniting a fire inside of him. They quickened their pace to the community center down the block, a haven that had hosted a recent food drive, now a symbol of solidarity. He hoped it would serve as a uniting point for his co-workers and draw them from the shadows of fear into the light of action. As they entered the community center, they were met with familiar faces, fellow employees dressed in expressions of concern, their bodies lined up against the walls, waiting for direction. Lisa stood at the forefront, her brow drawn tight with determination. "They're already talking about your speech, Tom," she said, stepping closer. "People are scared. What do we do?" Tom exhaled deeply, forcing himself to maintain composure. "We unite. We stand together. The board doesn't see us as human beings, they see dollar signs. But if we can show them the strength of our voices, they won't be able to ignore us." Murmurs of support rippled through the audience, each nod serving as armor against the looming threat. "But how?" Jenna asked, anxiety twisting her features. "What can we do that matters?" "We need to gather our stories," Tom replied, eyeing each person. "Our stories are powerful, and when we share them, they become impossible to ignore. They show who we really are, who we fight for. We'll create a presentation advocating for our cause, and we'll take it straight to the board." A spark lit in Lisa's eyes. "We should document everything. Every sacrifice, every hardship, every dream we have for our futures. It'll show them what's at stake." Tom felt an overwhelming surge of hope as energy buzzed in the room. "Exactly. We may not change their minds with just facts, but with people, real, relatable human experiences." The night continued with a rush of voices, ideas flowing freely as everyone collaborated on how to structure this vital communication with the board. Stories sprang to life, filled with laughter and despair, determination echoing around once muted fears. For the first time, Tom felt the vibrant pulse of community wrap around him like a protective cloak. As morning dawned, they wrapped up their plan, a tangible sense of unity flowing like electricity. Tom stood before his co-workers, now family, feeling the warmth of hope in their eyes. "We will present this together," he declared, a quiet strength radiating from him. "We will remind them that we are not just numbers on a spreadsheet. We are the heartbeat of this company." Their cheers felt like a victory chant, building up to an explosive crescendo that pierced the remnants of fear lingering in their hearts. But as the day wore on, the stakes sharply rose. Sarah received another ominous message that sent a chill down her spine. "They know about the presentation. We might not have much time before they act." It hit Tom like a tidal wave, shoving him into the depths of uncertainty. "We have to move quickly," he announced, adrenaline coursing through him. What followed was a flurry of activity. They pooled resources, gathered their hopes, and began to craft a visual representation alongside their documented stories, all the while preparing for potential backlash from the board. When the day of the meeting arrived, it felt as if a storm had gathered inside him. Tom took a deep breath, allowing the solidarity of his team to remind him why they fought so hard. He looked around the room, catching glimpses of determined faces, and felt emboldened. When the board members entered the room, the tension was palpable. Tom squared his shoulders, ready to share their truth. "What you're about to see is not just data, it's people," he began, a newfound fire radiating from his chest. These stories and experiences are why we need to change the narrative. Our lives, the lives of our families depend on it. At first, the board sat quietly, shocked by the weight of their words. But as the stories poured forth, Lisa's sacrifices for Mia, Jenna's struggles as a single mother, Marcus and his father working tirelessly against the odds, their vulnerability shone brightly. By the end, the boardroom felt alive with emotion, and for the first time, Tom saw cracks in their hardened professional facades. This could be the moment where everything changed. A board member finally spoke up, tentative yet shifted. "You've shown us something tonight, the human side of our operations. But what can we do?" Tom felt his heart swell as he seized this moment. "We need to create a new foundation for our business model, one that respects and uplifts every employee. Together, let us pave the path to making this company truly a family." As the meeting concluded, a glimmer of realization brightened the board members' faces. No longer was it just a company, it was a community, and together they took the first step toward carving a new future. Walking out of the boardroom, Tom turned to his team, who were now beaming with hope. They'd done it together, their voices resonated, and their struggles were acknowledged. In that moment, Tom knew they were forged into a force unstoppable. Bound by experience, united by resilience, they faced the world with renewed courage. Their hopes spun together into a tapestry of possibility, igniting a change that would echo for generations. As they left the offices, laughter embraced the air around them. No longer were they just employees, but a family who took a leap of faith toward a brighter tomorrow. This is where the story takes flight, and together they soared. And now, don't let this moment pass you by. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Seriously, it makes a difference. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending below. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of backing the channel through these actions.